Hello, and welcome to Global Wellness for All podcasts. My name is Laleh Hancock, and I'm going to be your host every week, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Lisbon time, as we do this journey and adventure of wellness in all parts of our lives. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Taste of Talk to the Entities. My name is Laleh Hancock, and my co-partner in crime today is Julie. And hi, Julie.
Hey, Laleh. Julie Tuton, for anybody who doesn't know me.
So Julie is in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and today I am in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and we're so grateful for all of you guys. We have so many registrations from all around the world. It was so beautiful to watch. They just keep popping in my inbox, and just the energy, like you were saying earlier, this energy of everyone saying, hi, yes, I want to know more. And already, what are you opening the doors of communication with beings that maybe we see or don't see, or it's a business or a land or anything else. So Julie, do you want to maybe just a minute and just say a little bit about you for people who don't know you yet?
Sure. I found Access many, many years ago through my chiropractor. Ooh. When I had neck pain, and I sat on his table, and he had just become a certified facilitator of Access. And he used the clearing statement, and my neck pain went away instantly. And I was like, whatever that is, I want to know more about it. And then I sent all my friends to him, and then he turned out to be a little bit creepy. So I had to step up and become a facilitator myself.
So pretty much he was there to learn the tools because he had to share them with you so that you could step up and bring more consciousness in the world.
Yeah, so I didn't plan it, but I'm so grateful. And this has been amazing. So
truly. And, it's really interesting because I met you so many years ago, and both of us actually chose to become Talk to the Entities facilitators in the last year. And I know you've been in Access for what, 20 years now or close to it?
18. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for me, 10. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's funny, I never did a specialty, but it really was talking to me during the whole pandemic, like really loud. So, you got to listen.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating because, let's kick it off. So talk to the end. Oh, by the way, anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Laleh Hancock, and I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness, with a facilitator of many of the specialties. And then I also have my own Conscious Vagina and Leaders of Tomorrow. And for me, what was interesting is the minute I became a bars practitioner and facilitator, I remember every session that I had, people would come and I'm like, wow, the tools of entities was such a contribution to every session. And I went into the assumption that I should clear all their entities each time they came. That was the early Laleh. But it's amazing because all of us, we've known this other world with spirits. We've known as kids, we've known as adults. Sometimes we hide that we don't know. But for me, I used to talk to businesses, I still do. That was one way for me. But really, talk to the entities opened so much awareness for me and provided so much ease for many things. And I was totally open to all specialties. I would take the talk to the entities classes, I would facilitate it in my classes, but I never saw it was required for me to be a talk to the entities facilitator. And it's whatever points of view I had or whatever. I work a lot in business. Oops. Maybe I was so sorry. Okay. But see, that might be, see what happens? We're talking about entities and they pulled somebody to you. So how exciting is that, really? It's as easy as that.
Yeah, I find it a really amazing, useful tool to help expand your awareness, because it's not something of this normal reality. And so to really strengthen those muscles of perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving with something that's outside of, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It's just a great other way to practice and use the tools.
Yeah. And Talk to the Entities was created by Shannon O'Hara. And she's been in Access over 20 years. She's Gary Douglas's daughter. And even with her, it was this journey. She was so aware of energies and beings. And for so long, she was doing drugs and ways to kind of shut her awareness off. And Gary, being the amazing allowance that he was like, okay, just be there for her, be the space, until she discovered, you know what, I can't hide from this anymore. I have to embrace it. I have to do the work, communicate, clear contribution and cooperation. And so most of you guys are here, may know about Talk to the Entities and have taken other classes, but I'm curious, what would you guys like to know? This is a quick little taster, so we'll have about half an hour to chat. And we're happy to share whatever it is that you guys would like to know more about. You have a chat box that you can type what you'd like to know more about, or you can just raise your hand and we're happy to bring you on here and you can ask your questions. But one thing I've found for me is with everything in consciousness, including Talk to the Entities, it's not a journey. I mean, it's not a destination, like it's a true journey. And that journey every day is so different. Like I was up till 3 or 4 in the morning and I was doing different things and I was having conversations with different entities. And I realized when I woke up, it was a whole new world for me. Like the space had changed, the energies had changed, and I couldn't try to put a reference to what I was perceiving. And you guys will find if you're willing to actually ask questions, which is really what Access Consciousness is about, is empowering you to know what you know. And be that person, you'll find different things. Oh, that's what it is. I was trying to figure out what that was. Okay.
Well, the echo.
Yeah. Okay, I muted them.
That's better.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was like, is that me? Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. What were you gonna say?
Well, I just, it's so interesting to me to have watched what Shannon has created all through the years, because I really saw it from the beginning. And the tools that were in the foundation were very small, and she took them and it just like went like this. And it just goes to show you that each one of us has something, some piece that we know that's different. And when you really move forward and explore that and look at what you know, and be willing to go beyond where anybody else has gone, you can create something amazing that's never been here before. So I took a lot of her classes in the beginning. At first, it was people who were just, first of all, they were afraid. And so it was all about clearing the fear, clearing all the implants that movies and stuff promote. And then everybody was like, do I have entities around me? And she's like, This is not hocus pocus, and it's not, I'm not a card reader. I'm here to empower you to know what you know, and who are your teammates, and what would you like to create. So it's just been so amazing, and I'm so inspired by what she's created, and how it really does empower each one of us to expand our awareness and to create whatever it is that we know we can create.
Yeah. And we don't always know what we can create, like it's really interesting. For me, I recall being maybe 5 years old and having a friend that didn't have a physical body that I was playing with, communicating with, and somewhere I might have told my mom, it freaked her out. So that little friend for a while wasn't visible to me anymore. And it was interesting. Shannon facilitated me a few years ago about that, and I realized like there's so many things in our lives that, like you mentioned, teammates. Does everyone know that we have teammates? You have beings that you are part of their team, they're part of your team, and they're not here to do anything for you, but you're not alone. And they're not the only ones who are here, but you do also have your team. And, I recall, like, even with my team, I was making them so significant. Like at first, I was like, oh my God, what do I need to do for them? Like, what will they do for me? Then I realized, no, it's that they are here as a contribution. They're here for us to know we're not alone, but their job is not to come bail you out. And their job is not, they don't have a job. They're there to be that contribution, that gifting and receiving with you. And so when my mindset of that shifted and changed, then it became a different creationship, and there are moments I'm like, teammates, where are you? And then I do the teammate exercise, and that's part of the beginner class, you guys, if you're interested in learning more. And doing the exercise and just perceiving that they're here, that they're hugging me and things of that sort, it really brought more ease to those moments where you're connected to everything. We're part of this incredible universe and planet, and yet sometimes it's easy to be in those thoughts, feelings, and emotions and not really be the infinite being, knowing and perceiving. So for me, like, even the exercise with the teammates has opened my willingness to receive more, and I do want to tell you guys one other thing. Before Access, years before Access, there was an earthquake in California, and I was on the East Coast. I was in the DC area with my family. And I just had this weird feeling like my plane's going to crash, And I was stupid. I was 22 years old. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go to my job tomorrow. I can't miss this flight because this is the last flight to get me home so that I can go to work tomorrow. And my husband had to go to school. And I get to the airport, I just have this wonky feeling. And back then there was no cell phones.
Is that the 89 one?
That was 94.
Okay.
94 was even worse than the 89. 89 was in San Fran. But anyway, so I use the payphone. I know some of you don't even know what that is, but it's like you put a coin in and this big old thing, and you put it to your ear and you make a number, or you dial a number. And I was telling my family, like, I love you guys. If I die, just know I love you. And they were like, well, why are you getting on the plane? I'm like, I got to go to work tomorrow. I mean, it was just like total insanity. And the whole flight, I was like this, normally I love flight. I'm just so happy. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get on an airplane. We land and I'm like, what the heck was that? Like, why was I so nervous? Like, what was this energy inside me that was going crazy? We picked up my bunny. I had a bunny from my friend. We went home, went to bed around 11:30. And at 4 a.m, our whole apartment was shaking. It was truly the worst earthquake, because most earthquakes, they shake side to side. That's why the buildings are constructed to handle that swaying of the building. This happened this way and this way. So a lot of buildings crumbled. This house didn't. Luckily, we didn't go to the one that we wanted to, but this one survived. And afterwards, I was like, oh, this is what I was nervous about. Like, I was perceiving the future. And for 4 months, I couldn't sleep. I perceived the earth shaking like it was a whole other earthquake happening in itself. And I literally thought I was going crazy. I was like, okay, I can't live here anymore. I have to move. And I moved to the East Coast faster than I was supposed to. And then I got into Access and I was like, holy freaking moly, that's what it was. Not only was the future giving me information, my teammates were giving me information, the earth was giving me information and asking for contribution. And those 4 months, it's because I was so aware of all the beings that had died, all the beings that wanted to die. Like, it was just like this whole world. And going to LA after many years with these tools gave me and my body total clarity, but it also gave me so much ease. So it's like those moments when we want to freak out, but at the same time, what is it you're aware of? And for me, talk to the entities and the tools have empowered that knowing. Now, every day, my awareness and knowing expands so much that yesterday I was like, please run my bars. I'm just so aware of everybody's insanity. So it's not like it goes away, but you have tools to expand, embrace, and then that communication, the communion, the clearing, and the contribution that's actually available to us. So
That's a cool story.
yeah. So what about you, Julie?
Well, yeah, many years ago before Access, I was doing meditation and different things. And my brother was in a horrible motorcycle accident. And even like the whole day, even months before, I just had this weird awareness and motorcycles. And when I was flying home to see him, because like he was in the accident, they brought him to the emergency room. I get on the night red eye flight, and it was I was in San Francisco and he was in Boston. And I get on my flight and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, just relax. And this warmth came over me and I could see through his eyes exactly what happened. And we were communicating telepathically. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, everything in me relaxed. And he gave me all kinds of information. And I thought that he was just having, an out-of-body experience, and that he was going to, I was going to get there and I'd be able to see him, like he was going to be back in his body. Turns out that was the moment where they pulled the life support. And so when I landed in Boston and found out that he had already passed, I met with my family and I said, I know where the accident was. I know what happened. And they were like, you're crazy. but I knew, and there was this calmness I can't even explain. Yeah. They were all upset and I was just calm, and because I knew he was still there. And so we went to the area, we found pieces of his motorcycle on the ground. We said a prayer and said, we love you, we let you go, move on, you can do whatever you like, move to the light, those kinds of things, because we didn't know anything better. And there were times when, like, my family really wanted to believe me, but they couldn't quite, until he gave me messages to tell them individually. And it was so cool. And then when I met Shannon and she started creating this body of work, it was like, it wasn't this fluke that happened to me once. I realized that I'm aware of all these other beings. Um, and I've used this communication to be able to cooperate with entities and have them help me out, like, yes, your teammates, but there's also tons of other entities. I was on a business trip and my hotel room was filled with entities. And at that point I had the tools. So I was clearing, but it was still so foggy. And that feeling when you go into a room and it's like foggy and you're like, wow, I am not alone in this room. So after clearing and not all of them left, I think I asked my husband at the time, like, now what do I do? And he's like, give them a job. And so I gave them a job and I said, go bring the buyers to my booth tomorrow and have them place an order with me. And so I just like repeated this over and over and they left. And the next day I had an amazing turnout of people just streaming towards my booth in this show all day long and asking, oh, is this Arcadian design? I need to place an order. And it was exactly what I said to put in their heads. And it was so amazing that it's possible, to co-create, cooperate, receive. And you're not crazy. All those things that you hear in your head, you're not crazy. This is like, you don't have to see them. That's okay. It's just that they're there. And what would it be like to, push the barriers down and allow yourself to know and to communicate and have it make your life easier? Because it doesn't have to be scary or hard. It can be easy and fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And, thank you so much for sharing that. And like the beauty of it, like, we talk about this in Access and some modalities would have this conversation, but the rest of the world is looking at death and accidents as, something not such a contribution, like your brother knew he could come to you, not the rest of the family, but come to you, give you the information you guys required, and that space that you created for him and you receiving the information. I mean, what a gift, one of the things that we also talk a lot about in the beginning class is also having office hours, because we all have capacities to communicate with entities, gift and receive with them. And like you said, cooperate, that's one of the ways to cooperate. And also one may come to you because they want to be in business with you, or a product or service or something else like that too. And in the beginner, like, when there is a lot going on and you're not paying attention, they will find ways to get your attention, and creating those moments of 3 seconds, 3 minutes, or 3 hours, whatever you want for office hours, to where it is. And for me, when I started the office hours, gosh, many years ago, it just seemed like everybody was coming just to be cleared. I was like, where's the communication and the other stuff that's supposed to happen here, But I realized it's like, when I had no point of view and I really was willing to be the contribution, it wasn't just about the job. It really was, what's required here? What do they require? What can you contribute? And are you willing to make this be one of the revenue streams for your business? One of the revenue streams of your life and living. Well, we call it now contribution stream, because it's not just about the money transaction of a revenue, but it also includes that. And what is truly possible? Now, what works for me, what works for Julie is not going to maybe work for you guys. So it really is about each of you playing with the tools, asking questions, and doing the work, clearing if clearing is required, communicate, allowing them to communicate. That whole moment of contribution is so different. And then the cooperation. what are ways that you and them can be gifting and receiving and creating something together, actualizing something together? And when we are willing to have, no agenda about it, but it just is from that space of contribution, what can be created. I mean, I remember when my dad died, I was so upset. I didn't get to say goodbye to him. And I was the one, not who found him, but I was the one who ended up coordinating everything. And I was always in the space of what happened? What happened? And, and then I was working with a shaman at that time, and it was beautiful. We energetically saw different things. We started communicating, and it's like, he hasn't been in a body in the last 15 years, but I communicate with him all the time, And so like you said, Julie, like if we're not making it be that the rules are they're in a body and we could do certain things with them, and then if there is no body, they can't, what else is possible? What else is truly possible? And I remember after the funeral, at the time he was my fiance, we were about to get married right before my dad died. I remember just saying, no, I don't want you leaving. I'd like you to stay here. I don't want to be alone. And it was so funny because that wasn't even me talking, because I'm usually the blah, blah, blah. And then I went into my kitchen, and we had put this huge window in the kitchen. Like the whole size of the kitchen had a window into the backyard. There must have been 1,000 birds sitting on my hill on my backyard. And I went over there and I just started crying, because we're not alone. By me having that need, it created them coming to show me, you're not alone. We have your back. And it just was such a different, I'm not even sure. I don't have words for what that was. But it really got me to look at life and death differently, and we have nature beings, we have beings of light. There's over 7 billion beings of light. Like truly, like we are truly not alone. But we have to do what you said. Put our barriers down. Be willing to ask, and be willing to receive, and go from that space of what would you like to create? Yeah. Okay. Rebecca has a question.
I have a question, which I think I may have plucked out of people's heads. So hopefully the contribution, because I get what you're saying. I've had a lot of those experiences too. And in the beginning, like there's a piece about trust. Like, how do you know that what you know is really knowing and not fantasy or imagination, especially when most people in this reality are just waiting to invalidate it?
So funny that you asked that, because I was just going to say that it's this light whisper of awareness, like awareness is with everything. And you have to build that muscle of trusting yourself, but you're not crazy. You're not making it up. It's in your head. It's super light and sort of quick. And it seems like the less you can think about it or try to figure it out, the easier you just let it flow in, kind of like, a waterfall, just flow in. And maybe don't tell anybody who can't hear it, but it's slowly over time building the muscle of trusting you. Yeah. And we do that with every one of the tools, and that's what Access is all about. But it seems to me that using the tools of the spirit world, it's not necessarily something you can see or anybody can see. So that you really do build your own muscle of trust by using these tools in that area. That's why it's sort of like, extreme workout, boot camp, the talk to the entities. Yeah.
Well, and what I also heard from both of your stories is there's an element of acknowledgement after the fact, like being willing to say, oh, I knew that. Like I was once in a car and I was driving behind like a little flatbed truck with a little steamroller on it. And I suddenly had this awareness, I had to get away from behind that truck, that thing was gonna fall off.
Yeah.
And I literally pulled into the other lane next to it and the chain broke and the thing started to slide. It didn't fall off, but it did. And it had to break. And I ended up telling that story like a year later to some women. And one of the women went, oh my God, that was my company's truck.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
You knew who could hear it.
Yeah, like so amazing. And I was willing to validate that, oh, I did that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I felt it, I knew it, and I went with it.
So I want to ask you, okay. So truth, did anyone contribute to you receiving that awareness?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. I mean, we don't have to try to figure it out because a lot of times we do with the head. That was why I was talking about some of the exercises in this beginner class, is that it really gets you to stop thinking, because thinking is there to stop your knowing and your actual communication with this spirit world. Because thinking is from this reality. So it limits your knowing.
Mm-hmm.
But what if, I'm not going to say, but like, your teammates or spirit guides or others were contributing to you receiving that information, and how cool you were willing to receive it. Because some people would have been like, oh, that's not happening.
Yeah.
That's secure. And they would just say, oh, that's not my awareness. You know what I mean? And that's, when you said trust, so often it's because we want to get it right.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, even if I had been incorrect, there was no harm in trusting what I got, trusting my awareness and taking action on it. If the thing didn't fall off the truck, so what?
Yeah.
Your
earlier question to Julie, or when you asked it, like, how do you know you're not just fantasy? This isn't just fantasy, but it's actually a knowing. What if it is fantasy? But we try to get it right. Like if did I really hear that? Did I really perceive that? Did I just, it seemed like something touched me? Or is that real? Is that not? But that's us in the head. That's the justifications and stuff. And Julie, like she said, like that awareness is this like breeze that is so fast. But what if part of the trust is to trust you, even if it's fantasy? Because then we make it be vital, real, and all these things instead of, oh, okay, that was fun. What else can I create? I was in Russia a few years ago and we were going to lunch, and it was really interesting. Our taxi driver was driving okay, but this other taxi, literally as if our car wasn't even there, was about to hit it. And I went, no, like literally, like I had the handle and like I'm the one driving, and I wasn't. And our taxi car moved totally. Otherwise we would have been smashed and it would have hit me because it was coming towards me. And I was like, holy camoli, like I just bent something, like it was just amazing what we could do. And I got to the lunch and my heart was like beating so hard. And the mistake that I made, or there's never a mistake, but I told people who were in the next taxi, that a different taxi that were there with us, and I realized they couldn't receive it. And I was like, I am claiming and owning that was magic. I just created magic. And I know for me, it wasn't just me. I knew there was a whole world that contributed to that. It literally was a car moving.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So often these miracles and magics are happening with you and your partnership with the spirit world, but we don't acknowledge it. And if we are, that's what builds the trust, is for you to acknowledge as well. And the more you acknowledge, the more you allow you to receive more, be more aware. and truly only you will know what is true for you. But also, go ahead.
I think reading Shannon's books and attending the classes help unlock those things that have occurred, and it brings it to our awareness again so that we can acknowledge it. It's been so amazing to, even in this, maybe some of the things that we've said have been opening up those awarenesses in each of you. And you are the only one who can acknowledge you and your awareness for it to grow. Somebody else can't do it for you. So,
oh, come on.
sorry,
Where's the answers?
you can try. All we can do is sort of validate in a way, unless you're willing to receive it. Because if you're not acknowledging yourself, you won't receive the acknowledgement that somebody else can give you. It's interesting you were talking about the car thing. I see when my kids are driving, because I used to do this, I would put my hand up, don't you come over here to a car. And I watch my kids do that now too. And it's just so cool. They just know they can no, part of the 9 trannies.
Yeah. And, Josephine's been putting a lot of messages here. We're so grateful you're here. And she says, what if sometimes our imagination is used by some entities to communicate with us? Do you want to cover that?
Everything's the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing's the opposite of what it appears to be.
And what if they can? And that this is the thing. I think so often we make it that we're trying to once again make it be right or wrong or validate, like you said, instead of acknowledge. And what beyond this reality acknowledgement can you be giving you? Entities, some communicate, some don't, for me, trees, lands, businesses, bodies talk to me all day long. I don't have to make it relevant, and sometimes I do require a heck of a lot more space, like even maybe my bars run or a body process, to make it to where I'm aware, but I don't have to be affected by it, And so learning the tools, applying the tools, asking the questions. It's not just, it's in my manual. Oh, I took it because I took that class. It's how are you actually utilizing the tools for your everyday life? And know that it doesn't matter what you did yesterday, what's available to you today. The whole world shifts and changes. So every 10 seconds, you now have a possibility of choosing something different. And, for me personally, the vaccines and COVID really created a whole other world of communication with bodies. And so, when you are aware of a lot of pain in people's bodies, or something's going on with, the planet or whatever, what could you be acknowledging about your awareness expanding and this gift that you have? How can you use it to your advantage? And how much fun can you have? Because we make it so serious. Like you said earlier, our conversations are so much entities, this ghost that shows up like it does in the movies, or demons or whatever, whatever it is, we make it so significant instead of oh, I have a playmate. I can pay attention to the playmate or I can ignore the playmate. It's up to you,
Yeah. So you no longer have to be at the effect of any of it. So you have the tools to clear, to communicate, you can receive. And it's interesting because a lot of the facilitation that I do with, just regular clients, it ends up, there's something having to do with an entity. When you ask, is this mine, someone else's, or something else? Most of the time, something else is the earth, but sometimes it's an entity. And then when you take the beginning class, there's this amazing flow chart that helps you walk through all the different questions to help you to get to the lightness of what you're aware of and what you can do, what action you can take. And so I'm constantly pulling that out. I have it on my phone and it's just so helpful. It's amazing.
It's your cheat sheet to entities.
Yeah. And so, within 5 minutes, people can get to lightness, whereas without that, you're stuck by it because you're not getting to what's actually true.
You may be stuck by it.
Maybe. Right.
Yeah. Wow. Does anyone have any questions? I know we have so many of you guys in the language Zooms. So if you do have a question, we can have you type it here or in your Zooms, and your translators can let us know. We're very grateful for you, Josephine. Thank you so much for all that information. Anybody else? We also have the Arabic Zoom. No? Well, wow. How does it get better? I'm just wondering, do you guys notice the space that got created here by us just talking about it? Because it is called Talk to the Entities as a specialty. And it's so amazing when we acknowledge them, the space that gets created.
When you go to a party and if nobody said hello to you, how you'd feel. I think about if nobody wants to talk to the entities, they're like, oh, come on, acknowledge me. I'm here.
Well, what's funny for us, we went to a friend's the other night and we were just after dinner hanging out over there. They have a new space and we were leaving. And it's so funny because, we talk about entities and I think a lot of times we have this assumption of what that means. We're leaving and I see these beautiful lilies, these flowers, and they talk to me, they were pulling me and I look and I say, hello. And I notice there's no water in their vase. It's like dry. And I touch it like, are you fake or are you real? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes they look so real, but they don't require water because it's plastic. And they were real. And I was like, oh. And then I told the people, I'm like, there's no water in your lilies. And they're like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to go buy new ones. So, they'll die tomorrow. And I was like, what?
They don't want to die.
No, I stole them. I didn't steal them, but I pretty much brought them home. I was like, okay. I was like, are you going to put water in them? And then they were like, but it's like, it's things will talk to you if you're willing to listen. And for me, I walk by the streets and the trees and the flowers and the lawns are just so loud. And it's like, hi, I'm here. And by us just saying hello, gifting and receiving that actually gets happening. And how much could that interaction expand what you're asking to add to your life and living,
It's so true. Things talk to me too. Usually, clothes that are on sale that want, me, that will fit me perfectly, or jewelry, even furniture and stuff, chandeliers. You can see I have some chandeliers. I love them. And like, I'll just happen to pull over. Oh, there's this parking spot. Oh, what's that store? And, go in and there it is. And, if you've lost your keys, you can ask keys, where are you? And they'll let you know. So this is all part of the Talk to the Entities arena, because it's awareness and everything is an entity.
Yeah.
So what if it doesn't have to be scary? What if it can be fun?
Yeah. And what if you could just take it day by day? I mean, what you will play with today and what's available to you tomorrow will be very different. And what if it's okay to be scared? What if it's okay? And then what's available? I love it because Shannon always says, don't be scared, be scary. What if you could be the scariest entity there is out there? And nothing can be scarier than you. Oh yeah, from our show. Irmgard was saying, yes, more ease and more space. I got some new ideas. Thank you. Well, thank you. And thank you for being here. And Claudia says, thank you, Laleh. Because
Спасибо, спасибо. Лали говорит.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Tatiana, I'm muting you. Okay. Thank you, Laleh, because the beginning class gave me the opportunity to say goodbye to my good friend who died some months ago. So grateful for you and the tools. Oh, very grateful for you. Do you guys have any questions on the Zooms and the language Zooms? Tatiana?
Yes, we have a
Yes.
question.
Okay.
The girls say here that it's very often that they talk to me, and it's like a lot of things coming up in me. And what I did, I offer him a certain hours. The time, set the time for them, what they can come in. И они приходят, когда им вздумается. But they are not agreed to that, and they are coming anytime they want to. What can I do about this?
I love it. She sets business hours and they say, no,
Yes,
I want to
no,
talk to you
yeah.
all the time.
Is she a mom?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Is she a mom?
Tatiana, is she a mom? Can you ask her?
Just, Natasha, ты mama? Yes, she is. Yeah, I remember she is a mom. Yeah.
So what if she made the rules like she does for her children?
Yeah. You know, one of the things I love Shannon saying this because sometimes we go the extreme, like we think entities are scary and they're bad and whatever. And sometimes we go the other way. We're like, oh, they're so good. Like we make it be like the extremes. Entities who don't have bodies are as they were when they were, in a body. If they were difficult to communicate with before, they're still difficult to communicate with as they're dead, as they're not really dead, but their body's dead. If you had someone who was pushy, someone who was constantly trying to get someone's attention, they're still like that. So you have to learn what works for you. And the whole idea of that, the time set aside for these sessions or whatever, is that you make it work when it's going to work for you. And you make them come back later if you want to. But ask what will create greater, because sometimes I've found, sending them away doesn't create greater. There's something by you gifting to them and clearing them now, or allowing them to communicate with you now, is something you've been asking for that's showing up in such a different way. So play with it. And the more you do office hours, the more there's not this push to get your attention. Does that help?
Yeah, she's saying, yes, it's help. And she's saying that I have to admit my power. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have to acknowledge our power. And that's something I think each day, give yourself allowance that you don't have to do anything overnight. But what if every moment you could be greater and have more confidence in you? And that comes, like Julie says, we have to do the work. We have to practice. We have to, you know what I mean? Like the more you clear, the more you communicate, the more all these things become that trusting in you. And Shannon is creating new classes. For us facilitators, we just found out that she just created an intermediate class. So it's the beginner, the intermediate, there's the advanced, and the facilitator as well. And so like, it's not like you learn it and then it's finished. There is what's new in the world, you know, what are these new energies? What are these new tools that want to come? The tools that you already know, what's this new space with them that's available?
Yeah, and sometimes it's giving you an opportunity to step up your game, and sometimes it's just really easy. So, you know, if
Be willing to spank the entities.
well, it's like, you know, if you're like, oh, go away, you know, they might be like, oh, here's an easy one that I can mess with. But if you're like, go, like you're yelling at your kids, I can just hear Gary saying that, you know, use your big voice like you're yelling at your kids. Sometimes that's required and sometimes not.
Awesome. Awesome. Yay.
I want to thank you both so much. This has just been such, you know, I've been hearing about this specialty. I've read the books, but I just love how the two of you have brought it to life. It's given me a clearer understanding of what I would get from the weekend and diving into this specialty more. So thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
There is one other thing that I think is important for people to know, that sometimes aches and pains and things that you've had in your body for years and years and years, you take the class and they're gone, because sometimes entity awareness signs that are your entity awareness signs, you never realized were that. And the peace in your body can be incredible. Like, people have no idea until they go through it. Sort of like a body class, you know, if you've ever done those, and you realize, wow, you know, I thought I was relaxed, I thought I was fine, but you find deeper and deeper levels of peace and space in your body with
Well,
the
and
entities as well.
And it could be more than your body, you know, it could be your business. Like I remember facilitating some people about their business and realizing that they were creating their business not based on them, but other entities, you know. And as soon as we clear the entities, and these were not business people that were usually open to this kind of conversation, but they were, because they had created such a havoc in their business and they were willing for anything and everything to work. We did some entity clearings, everything changed. Their finances changed, the way the employees would interact with each other changed. So like if we're willing, this is, take it up a few notches. It's like your life and living. And how can you apply these tools for things that for so long you've owned as if they belong to you, you know?
Yeah. And just, you know, just facilitating one person. Like I've been doing some online dating, and I'll meet a few people here and there, and you know, their dead parent always seems to come to me. I don't know why, but they do. And I'm like, really? Okay, I'll relay the message, but you have to pay me. And I mean, sometimes the changes that that one person gets out of just a, you know, a tiny message from their passed away parent, their whole life changes. And they're like, they're so grateful. And what that contributes to you and to the world and to everybody around them, around you, it's incredible. And you get paid. Because if you ask, you get paid. And each time I've had really cool, interesting things show up.
Yeah. And be open, because getting paid from the spirit world looks different. You know, we make it be based on how it is in this reality, but it might be that, you know, the house you wanted to buy is now available for you to buy, or the paperwork got easy. Like it can show up in such different ways to that gifting and receiving. And yes, like Julie says, sometimes it's money shows up in your bank account. Sometimes it's, a client shows in and comes and buys her jewelry or something else, like, because I get sometimes we fixate on what we think that money interaction is with the entities. It can be that. And what else can it be? Because their world's not limited like our world is, it's not black and white. Yeah. You inspired her to start dating. It doesn't get better.
Use your questions with that area too.
For sure. Oh my God. Totally. Yeah. And when I swipe left, sometimes I'm like, oh, you got too many entities. That's too much work. Swipe left. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you everyone for being here. We're so grateful for you. Truly what's possible with each of us and our capacities, abilities, and superpowers with entities, whatever that is, with the spirit world and beyond. And Julie, would you like to invite people? I know that we have some things coming up. We are doing a Beings of Light book reading. It's going to be myself, Julie, and a few other Talk to the Entities facilitators. It's a gift from us. It's going to be in May, 4th through the 7th. And I know that you also have a beginning class that's coming up soon. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, it's online and it starts on the 14th of April. I think it's like 2.5 hours a day for several days, skipping over Easter for those who want to have a Sunday off. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then I'm going to do a beginning class in May. It's going to be on the 6th, 7th. We're going to take off Mother's Day and 9th and 10th. And it'll be about 3 hours, about 2.5, 3 hours a day. And it will be online as well. I really wonder what we could be acknowledging about the gift and contribution we have been with the spirit world so far. It's not like your journey starts today, you're in a class. What are you being now? Because our contribution goes so much wider than we realize. And then what else is possible? Yeah. Thank you, translators. Thank you, Amal. Thank you so much, Tatiana. Thank you so much, Marinella. And thank you all of you who are here and you were having this conversation with us live, and for all of you who are going to watch this later. And what else is truly possible? So I wonder what futures we just actualized that we haven't acknowledged. What else is now possible? And thank you for Rebecca too and her questions. Yeah. And thank you for all the spirit guides who are here and all the beings that came to contribute to each of us and more.
And thank you, Laleh, for inviting me to come play with you and your team. It was so fun.
Oh, so grateful for you.
Better.
How does it get any better? Thank you, everyone. Well, big hugs, and we'll see you guys soon, okay? There'll be a follow-up email, just so you guys know. Thank you so much for registering for us. By registering, you did give us permission to email you. So just know in emails from Julie and myself, and you will have in the follow-up email from this, the replay of this. You're welcome to listen to it, download it, play it as often as you like. And even when you go into a room or a space or a hotel or your office, like you can even play this in the background and contribute creating more space as well. And if you have any questions, just let us know. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for being here with us, whether you were listening or watching. We are so grateful for you, and we need your help. We would love to spread the seeds of wellness all around the world. Will you assist us? You can subscribe below. You can subscribe in Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. We are everywhere.
And we ask, would you be willing to actually spread this to others that you may know who can actually be contributed with the tools and resources to bring more wellness into their life and into their bodies?